No. That's a huge danger. And we think it's cool, especially the middle class.
That you have a nanny there.
Yeah, the middle class really like they got the wrong end of the stick. They think it's about the schools, the money. So it's like they don't raise children in a way that will put them at an advantage in future. Basically because of some of those life decisions, like you work 18 hours, your wife works 16 or more. You only see your children on video call. And we think it's cool. We are busy. We are working.
Sasa mtu kama Soja atafanya nini? Those
Soldier.
who are sent to different places.
When you're a soldier or when you work, that's why you must be deliberate. I remember my father used to work out of town. He's an engineer, so sometimes factories are not only sometimes within cities. And so sometimes he would be called and told there's a project we have somewhere in, like for example, Kisumu. So during holidays, what he used to do, and that's also a way of mentoring kids.
Yeah.
You don't mentor girls the same way you mentor boys. Boys are mentored shoulder to shoulder. Like I stand with you. Yeah, we are like this. That's how you mentor boys. So my father that's how my father mentored me. I can think like an engineer, talk like an engineer. I can do almost everything an engineer can do, but I don't have the paper because I used to hang out with him a lot. So when he went to factories and he did all those things, I used to be there with him. From like when I was a kid. I remember I've gone to so many cold rooms. There was a time he used to work for a meat processing company.
Yeah.
So when he's called for an emergency, I'm there with him. So what was he doing? He was mentoring me. These are the things men do. These are the responsibilities of men. Like that. So mentoring a boy is shoulder to shoulder. Mentoring a girl is face to face. Girls need that.
One-on-one, face to face.
Face to face. Sit with her, talk to her. How are you doing? How are you feeling? Who are your friends? You ask those. And ladies have a way of connecting. You can begin here and end up in Mombasa, but we went through Garissa, Nini. So now as a man, you need that patience to go through that journey. Yeah, and that needs time.
So it can't be done in a hurried way.
No. So with boys, you do things together. That's why when you're with your boys, when you're watching ball, soccer, you're bonding. Yeah, you're bonding. We are watching Arsenal, Man U, all those teams. We are bonding. But for a girl, it's let's talk. Yeah. So that's why many men, when they hear their wife say, let's talk.
Nashtuka, ni nini tena unataka kutuambia?
Si tumeshindana wewe. Yeah. So let's talk for them is now their way of. That's how you mentor girls. So when you understand that's how you mentor girls, when you're a parent, you take those deliberate steps, especially as a father, to follow through that level and line of mentorship.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, we are learning. Are you all learning? Hapa tuko father studies. Kitabu na kalamu naandika chini father, baba studies. Tunasoma. How's you? This is awesome. There's a friend of mine who was talking about, I think in their family, he's kinda this jamaa wa kiboko. Mtoto akikosa wacha nimnyoroshe kidogo angalau. But mom, yeye ako ile gently sit him down ama muongeleshe, mwambie ni kwa nini amekosa, mwanjibu alafu atasikiza. So he was wondering, aende na hiyo ama afuate ile ya Biblia? Spare the rod, spare the child. What would be your maybe thinking ama thoughts about gentle parenting? Because to me, I'm seeing this, your mom ni kama gentleness sana.
Yeah. Okay, sometimes, especially when a child is younger, parents can play that role. But the thing is, children are smarter than you know. Like, There are kids who they know how to manipulate the emotions and of their parents. But as a parent, what are you supposed to do? You raise up your child in the best way. And for them is you need to be able to show them very early right and wrong. I am not against per se gentle parenting, but I will not spare the rod.
Totally.
Where need be, the rod will be used. I am not a cruel parent. I am fair but firm.
Fair but firm.
Fair but firm. In the kind of values I want to see my children extol. So that means I don't spare the rod. I punish when appropriate. After I have explained why I am punishing them.
I have to explain before punishing.
Sometimes, especially when the child is a little bit older and they can understand language.
Yes.
But when they are babies, for example, if the baby bites the mother, that's something that is punishable. Like, you don't beat or spank, you can just pinch and say no. Yeah, you see that adventurous. Like, let me give you an example. There are some babies, when they are being fed, especially after 1 year, they slap the mother.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I remember I told my son, don't slap my wife. And I was very firm. No, don't slap mom.
Totally.
And he stopped. I didn't even have to punish him. So I learned they hear.
And they see.
And they see. So gentle parenting is good. Because especially mothers, at that stage, most of them, you're teaching the boy how to relate. You also want him to be a human being who is. But as a father and as a protector, sometimes you may need to take that role. Sometimes that role is taken by the father, the gentle one, and the mother. But the whole point here is, when you're going through the discipline journey with your kids, all of you need to be on the same page. So that the child doesn't feel like this parent is always the unfair one, and the other one is the nice one. And sometimes that's how it has been played out, especially when you sit down in counseling sessions with such parents. They say, the children tell you, Dad is unfair because he beats us. Mom is okay. So who is it easy to manipulate? Mom is easy to manipulate. You know, mom, when you just do, she thinks you're...
Where?
Yeah. So when a child tells you that, you're thinking, and you think you're doing them a favor.
No.
Second, part of the process of growing up involves pain. Pain is a very good motivator to some right directions. You cannot bring forth a child without pain.
No.
That's natural. There will be labor at some point. Okay, nowadays there is medication and stuff. But the labor involved pain. Sometimes when you remove the pain process, that's where dysfunction comes in. People who are not used to rejection, people who are not being used to being told no, people who are not used to boundaries.
No.
The reason you have a boundary is so that you don't go overboard. Sometimes that boundary is brought by a rod. Because that rod will set the child in a...
Straight.
Yeah.
Oh. And how do you make you as a father, you as a mother, these children, they don't mistrust you, but you still exercise your authority, your discipline part. How do I still discipline and still not lose the trust of this child?
Okay. I'll use my own example. I punish my children. But when I punish them, I always tell them, that doesn't mean I don't love you. We still hang out. I'll punish you for that
particular thing that
you've done. After that, I move on. Quickly. So that you can reassure this child, it's not about you as a person. It's about the act that you did. Now, the way us we used to be punished, we used to be punished with everything. It was like a whole pot of everything. Like
wholesome.
I remember a beating in our home used to be a very There's a word I want to use. I can't even think about it. It was like, like our parents were crazy. My mom would just tell you, go and take a shower. Then after you take a shower, just after you leave the bathroom,
Viboko.
huyo na viboko. You know that time your skin is very
soft na kwambia.
Hey, yani it was like
That was mom.
Yeah, that was mom. My dad never punished me. He has never punished me.
I think that's why you went with him everywhere. Huko kwa.
Yeah, we used to hang out. He was a strict guy because I hated him teaching me maths. My father would teach you maths, you are crying. Oh. How can you not know this?
Oh, the tone.
Yeah, and he was. My father is masculine.
Simba.
So, yeah. So, but he would not punish you. No. You cannot do this. Very soft spoken, even till today.
Yeah.
But every one of us, me and my siblings, none of us wanted to be taught maths by my dad, and he was brilliant in maths. We were like, maths, afadhali mom. But mom was the
disciplinarian.
My mom, man. There was a time I even told her, what were you taking out on us? Like, but I was like, that was her way. I came to understand later, that's how they were brought up. So she did the best. And I really love my mom for that because my mom is very passionate about whatever it is that she does. That was the best they knew then. But when I look back in retrospect, it became an advantage because I raised my kids differently. I am still firm.
Totally.
Like I'm a combination of both. I will punish you,
right,
but
still embrace you.
Exactly. We hang out, we go for football together, that kind of thing. When I'm going to the garage, I carry one of them, tell them, you sit here, you're going to be my KYM. Like that. Because that's how I was brought up by my dad. The mentorship is shoulder to shoulder.
Okay. Hapo nimelan. Shoulder to shoulder. Yeah. So I don't have to sit a man down and have to ongea.
No, men don't understand that.
By doing something else.
Let's do this by doing something else. Let's go for example, bungee jumping, a hike. That's how men bond.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Let's do a koroga. Just go hire a banda and a mbuzi. Then you do it there while you're doing the mbuzi, you talk to the man. Yeah.
How do you raise teenagers now?
For me, teenagers are the test of whether you did good parenting in the past. Yeah, because when I said 16, most children, after 14, 15, 16, they disconnect from parents, and now the people of influence in their lives are their friends. So whatever it is you have been teaching,
that is what they'll use now.
It is what they will use to relate with their peers. So that's where your dysfunctions are exposed as a parent. Because if you inculcated good values, it will be seen. But if your values were off,
how am I to handle this disconnect? That they are not disconnecting with me. How do I get to
That's now where you need you need to keep on going to them and reassuring them. I'm here if you need me.
I feel rejected at times. Like my teen girl.
Yeah.
And I feel rejected. I feel I am pushing.
That's when you're a father, especially to a teen girl, there are some deliberate things that you must do. Like you can decide we are going to be going for dinner dates with you. Like it's just between me and you. I want to take you to your favorite place. You have your favorite meal.
She can reject you, Pia.
No,
at that particular time.
Most girls won't. Because you realize when girls grow older, especially during those confusing times, they are more reassured of their mother. Sorry, their father. They are by their father than their mother. Have you ever heard of this thing that mothers talk about, that teenage girls, it's like they hate them. They are not at... Do you know why? It's because psychologically she's becoming a woman. So when she looks at the mother is like her. for lack of a better word, like competition.
Yes.
But the father
Is not.
is the guy.
This is the guy I want to be with.
Yeah.
All the time.
Or the guy I want to be. I want a guy like him. So that's why fathers, it's easier to relate with daughters than mothers. Now you see the importance of a father. Remember, when you're beginning, it was the mother, then the father. Then this time, if it's a girl, the father. If it's a boy, the mother. Because both times, emotions are all over the place. So you need to be able to learn how to manage and manipulate them with the emotions that they have and they carry. Then another thing, you have to do very deliberate mentorship programs for them. Like, raising them alone is not an option.
It is never.
Yeah, so you...
Since you're to gated communities?
No, you take them for camps, like where they can be taught. There's some finishing school for girls, for girls. For boys, you need to take them to places where they can see something different. This is when you can also introduce them to community or charitable initiatives, so that they learn there's more to life than what they see
at home.
Yes. And this is like a deliberate thing. You don't like expect them to get it. That's when you start. By the time they hit young adulthood, they will tell you they had a full childhood.
I'm waiting for that.
Yeah.
It's my fear that to hear my daughter say, "Hey, dad's absence messed me up."
Let me tell you something. One of the saddest things I've seen, especially about parenting, because when we take men through some of the programs, the coaching programs that we do, we have a particular section where we look at childhood experiences and the traumas that came with them. You don't want to be your child's cause of trauma.
Oh, you really don't.
Like your child looks at you and says, the reason I am going through this is because my dad did or mom did.
That will kill me. So honestly,
part of the reason we are motivated, especially to reach men, is so that we can reduce that. Whereby your children will say, I had a good childhood. Like, I can't say per se that my parents were the best parents. My mom was extra strict. I hated it for long. But when I look back in retrospect, that was the best for me. My dad was easy. He still is easy because both of them are alive. They are the best parents. And what I like about them is that they have managed to transit through the seasons of life. Because raising a child is very different from raising a teenager. It's very different from raising a young adult. It's very different from now you're parenting as a grandparent and all that. So they have managed to go through the course. So I personally can't say my parenting, I was parented badly. Yeah. I was parented very well. But now, when you encounter other people, now, like I said, that is not the only thing that can affect your parenting. What if you grew up in a neighborhood where every other home had something weird? Or you were never in a religious community like a church where you could see some values. That will also affect your parenting. Because people parent out of their family of origin, like I said before. Environment where you grew up, town. Yeah, you grew up in Majengo where you saw all the ladies insult the men. Yeah. Or you grew up in Majengo where all the men were drunkards and sluggards. Or I'm not saying Majengo because I'm just using it as an example. Yeah, the ghetto mentality. Yeah. Some people in ghetto grew up in very functional homes. Yeah. Some people in rich families in the Muthaigas and the Lavington and Rundas grew up in dysfunction. Or the neighborhood was dysfunctional. So it also affected the way they parent. Then also the church community. You went to a church where people never used to have some particular values. And so It affects your parenting.
There's a lot of things here to learn. Oh,
Yeah, we learn every day.
yeah.
Yeah.
How do you introduce the sex education bit?
You start when they are 2.
2 years.
Okay, when they can understand. You have to first start teaching them about what is private and what is not private. Then as they grow, they will keep on asking you questions. My how old is my son? My 9-year-old, I think 2-3 months ago, came home and was like, Dad! Ay, 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 ay. Do you know what we were taught in school? I was told this is not wee, it is penis.
Uh-huh.
Then girls don't have penis, they have
Vagina.
yeah. So now, hey, kumbe there is something called balls. So my wife took off.
Alikimbia.
Now she's like, I can't handle this. So I was like, okay. So what did they tell you?
Leadership. Nimeona hapo sasa. I've seen where now inakujia.
Yeah, so I was like, now you know, that's what they are called scientifically.
Yep.
So when you're talking about it in science terms, that's how you call it. Then, so what is in the balls? We were told there's something on the air, there's semen. You teach them sex education, not everything based on their age. You also don't want to overgive information. But now my 12-year-old, I have taught him about sex education because I've told him, when you wake up in the morning, you will sometimes wake up with a hard-on.
Yes.
The reason for that is ABC, like that. And if you sleep with a girl, this is what could happen. But you're not at the place or the age where you can be able to handle those kind of things. So try and desist. And if you feel ABC, you can talk to me or talk to mom. But I know if you talk to mom, she'll still tell you to come to me. Because my wife doesn't know how to handle that. Yeah, she'll take off. So that's what we discussed with my son. So that's how you handle it based on age. The young one will be like, so I'm not supposed to show wee. Yes, you're not supposed to show wee. So nobody's supposed to touch? Yes, nobody's supposed to touch. Like, that's how you start. You have to start with the body parts. Then after you start with the body parts, they'll start asking you. Like, I remember when there was a time we went to a hospital, then we saw an image of a lady who is pregnant, but now it showed the fetus upside down. And they were like, wait, that's how the baby is in the stomach. Yeah, so you just call all of them and tell them, now come. Let me explain
in class.
This is a baby. So how did the baby get there? Now, when an egg and a seed come together, they form the baby. Then the baby starts here. Then it grows. So how does the baby feed? They show the cord, the umbilical cord. Where is it attached to the wall of the uterus? You explain. So if I eat chapati, the baby eats chapati. Yes. Because that is the level they understand.
Yes.
Now, my older son understands it's through the blood.
Yes.
So you do it
according to how they can.
Yes. That's how I've handled sex education. And I'm still not yet there.
Supermarket.
No, you don't do the supermarket thing because they'll think you're a liar.
Yeah, they will. Watajua tu, watafunzwa
they'll be told, they'll go, supermarket. And kids can show you out. There are things you don't teach kids. You're telling a kid mwambie siko, then they go and tell you, Mami amesema nikwambie hayuko, ako huku. You know, like that kind of thing.
Hapo umeanikwa vibaya sana.
Umeanikwa, alafu sasa ukishaanikwa hivyo, you start becoming emotional, personal, unataka umchape, lakini sasa
umemfunza.
So unafanyanga hivyo. They even talk in your tone of voice. Can you imagine? When you're angry.
Goodness. We have to be very cautious.
Yeah. For me, parenting is like, a good act. When you're supposed to act good all the time, that's parenting.
That brings me now to, how do you fight at home? Now that there are some fights between you and your wife, do we have healthy fights? If now I have to bring out the good act all the time, will they see this other side? Maybe when we have disagreements, will they have to see that that one also comes with age?
Sometimes they need to know that you can fight, so that they don't think that
Everything
is just
the good act per se.
Yes. So, but how do you fight?
Exactly.
You fight fair. There's always fair fighting in marriage, where we don't agree, but we are respectful towards each other.
You don't have to insult me.
No. How do you insult?
You don't have to
If you insult, you'll hear them outside playing. You know, like where I live in an apartment. So when kids are playing outside or downstairs, you can hear them sometimes talk. They speak some profanities, and you're like, something you said. So you can't fight with that. So how we fight, most of our fights have to be in private. But if they sometimes could play out when the kids are there, you have to be respectful towards each other, so that they know disagreements don't mean that there's a lot of disrespect or you go separate ways. Also because it assures them of their security in this relationship. I have seen kids who have grown up in families that are parents separated or divorced.
Yeah.
And for them, anytime you fight, they go into also their flight mode. And some of them become very stressed, depressed, and they do some very off things. Because of that, they are scared that once they see parents fighting, it could mean something else. Yeah.
Now, this maybe as a young man, as a young girl, you see your parents still fighting. Ile hapo home tu kabisa, baba anapiga mama ama whatever. You as a child unafanya nini? Sasa umecome of age already. What are you supposed to do?
Age ni kaa gani?
Maybe 18, 23, hapo 24.
At 23, that one you can. That one, what you can do, you can later you can sit both or one of them, or the instigator, and talk to them. But if they don't get it, you have to go through your uncles and aunties.
They don't even get the uncles and aunties.
So that's a very difficult place.
How do I handle that as a?
How do you handle that as a?
This young man, this young child.
Or this young child. As a young child, how do you handle that? I think you must go and get someone who this person is accountable to. There must be one person when they talk, this person can listen to. It can even be your grandparents if they are there. Just tell them, these guys fight a lot. Can you talk to them? Yeah.
Hapo you've just reported them, if I can
say. You just
report
them.
You as a person, how do you handle this
that trauma?
Wewe peke yako sasa, how do you?
First, you need to dissociate yourself from those fights.
By leaving home?
First, it starts in your mind. You can also be living away from home, but it still affects you.
Yeah. Just know that these two people fighting is not in any way connected to you as a person. It does not define you as a person. The thing about children, and that's where growing up in a functional family is very important. They will associate everything they see in the home with themselves. Yep. That's why you'll hear kids when they're playing outside. Gari yetu, TV yetu. It's like they own everything, including some of those bad things. Yeah. So growing up, that's when you learn that there are things you can disconnect, that they are not like really part of you. That's why people have the ability to move out. So you will notice that when young adults move out from home, they don't start talking about TV yetu. That's mom's TV. Yes, so that means even psychologically, they have grown up. Yeah. But when children don't understand that aspect, how to grow and scale into that,
they really struggle to disconnect themselves from the issues of their parents. When parents are fighting, I always tell parents, understand this. It's not in any way connected to the children. And number two, I always tell children, your relationship, the relationship between your father and your mother is not your issue. Just know that they are your parents and both of them love you in their own individual way. They may not even be able to live together, but both of them love you in their own individual way and accept it as that. Yep.
Hey, okay. Hapo ninasoma kabisa. And I hope you're also learning and reading. Hope mnaandika hizo notes. Hizi tutasoma tena later, right? Wisdom here, wisdom.
Yeah.
Hey, Drake, I'm enjoying. I'm enjoying so much. This is quite reflecting.
Yeah.
Every time you're speaking, I'm just trying to see how is my life aligned. Where am I coming from? Hii story nilikuwa nauliza about the child now maybe seeing how the parents are fighting. Is there a place this father or these parents can come down and ask for forgiveness and apology to their children later?
Our parents?
Yeah.
No.
Is it something
okay, by the way, this thing is generational. There are some parents who can do that. But there are parents who still now, like, I've handled a case of where the parent doesn't believe that whatever they did, that you think they did was wrong.
Yeah.
Now you have to reconcile yourself to that fact that it's okay for them not to be remorseful. But you still have to honor and respect them.
How will I relate with you?
You just have to find a way of relating. Because there are people who don't believe. They will hurt you and they don't believe you warrant to they'll think, yeah, there are people who are like that.
Is it because of the age factor, because now
also even in their generation
they never got
you see, most of our parents grew up dysfunctional, believe it or not. So some of the things that we have gone through come out of those dysfunctions that they had. I remember in a certain forum I talked about it and I said that most of our fathers never grew up with fathers. Like because the fathers were either at war. If they were not at war, they were working away from home for long periods of time. So your father grew up without seeing a father figure. They used to relate with them from afar. That's why most of them had government jobs. They never really understood this thing nowadays we call papas, that you have to be in your papas. No. Them, they were like, you finish school, you get a job in Kenya Railways or government and you work, you retire, you're given a wheelbarrow. Sawa sawa, sawa sawa, twende. Now you are going to tell them, Dad, I want to be a photo. Photo what? Are you crazy? I took you to university to take photos. Come with a bicycle, our days. No, you see, your career is one of those outlier careers that our parents never thought could put food on the table. Akipicha, like that guy with a bicycle. Then he disappears and tells you sijui negatively. That's their thinking. Now when you try to explain to them, like I remember growing up, you could never explain to any of our parents that you would make money playing football. Ati foot what? Where? Gwenda shule, wacha hiyo mchezo yako. Some of us were very good in sports.
But it was killed.
Yeah. Their generation, there are things they can't relate with. Many of those baby boomers, they can't. It's like, it's unfathomable. Like, you're trying to tell them something that is not even in their headspace. It's like you're trying to see goodness in Satan. The way you're trying, and I think that's the best example I can use. These guys can't relate to some things. So you expecting them to respond the way you would respond is also doing a disservice to them. And it will involve you getting hurt a lot.
Well, so I just keep off.
No, you just make peace with the fact huyu jamaa hatawahi change.
So many change
Yeah,
for my own sake.
yeah, change for your own sake. Because carrying them along like, hey, man, huyu unajua alini hurt. Okay, aliku hurt, so move on. I'm a mother. Yeah. Do you know I have met a lady who was abandoned by the mother when she was born. The mother rejected her all through. Then when the father died, the mother came back. And when she came back, she wanted stuff. And she feels she deserves it.
Hi.
And when you're trying to tell her, don't you see this is...
Not right.
They're like, no, it's my right. Do you think are you okay? They're like, yeah, I'm okay. In fact, you guys are the ones who are off. So listen, when you understand that, you realize there are people, that's like their reality. Live with the fact that that is their reality, and there's nothing that is going to change. Even if you try and like try to deal with that narcissistic behavior, that dysfunction, it's like part of them. So you live with them based on that fact. It's like a lame dog. A lame dog will never run fast. So even if you're telling the dog you can't run, the dog will try to run.
But they can't.
Yeah. So that's how I have understood, especially with the experience of having to counsel quite a number of people concerning some of those traumas. There are people who will never change. And it's okay.
Yeah.
So you deal with yourself. Because you can't control how people act or relate or decide to live their lives.
It can make one be now protective of their own family against them.
That person.
And yet,
sometimes it is...
their grandfather,
sometimes
mother,
it is okay.
To protect, to shield them from...
Because your first duty is not to your parents, it's to your family.
But sintazidi kuharibu the relationship between me and my family.
But you see, it's not that you will continue to haribu the relationship. What you will do, you're trying to protect your family from that toxic behavior. You see, toxic behavior should not be... Just because you're my family doesn't mean that I should accept your toxic behavior. They will know you exist, but you will not have a relationship because of your toxicity. And there's nothing wrong with that, because your first duty to God is to these ones, not to your parents. And for that one, me, I'm very unapologetic about it. And I also tell my parents, my first duty is to my wife and my children. So if there was an emergency, I will think of them first before you. Because that's how you raised me. That my first duty should be to my
family.
Yeah. Right now, you don't need me as much as these kids need me. But you know, there are some parents who don't understand this. That's why I told you about my parents. They have understood how to switch seasons.
Okay. Now I get.
But there are parents who don't know. They're like, no! You should drop everything and come. No. That's not how it works.
Part of honor? How to honor
No,
them?
honor does not mean you abuse me. Like, have you ever heard of black tax?
Sana hiyo iko. Me, I thank God my folks haitumii kwangu. That is, I really thank God for that.
Yeah, like my by the grace of God, my family, my dad doesn't need anything from me per se. He can provide for himself.
Yes, mine too.
He's okay.
With or without your help.
Yeah, with or without my help, he will.
That is something I picked from
him. In fact, sometimes he's the one who would call me and tell me, I feel I need to send you money. And I'm like, Dad. You understand? But that doesn't mean that it's like that for everyone. There are people who are educated, and the parent will come and tell, listen, I sold my land to take you to school, to get that job. And for that, you must now get wisdom on how to operate in that circle. Because I can't have a universal wisdom for that.
Yeah.
But the